Hi guys, in today's video will be on something a little bit different and unusual from me. I haven't seen any on YouTube before, and this is rolling stock mainly, but with a few locomotives. And that is, does it matter if it's to a specific design or does it look great overall, is what I'm getting at. So the three wagons behind it at the back, they are all freelance items from Hornby. And to me, for many years, they do look the part. Putting special liveries on them, like Cadbury's, private owner wagon liveries, they do look the part to me. Then in the front of the shop, we have a few Rapido diagram items, which are designed to a specific specification or diagram in this case. I just wondered, does it matter if they are to a diagram or not? Because lately quite a lot of models coming out are saying it's a diagram this, diagram that. And to me, it goes over my head. I don't quite understand it. So in this video, I'll have a list or a few from my collection that are diagrammed or to a design, and a few that are based or are freelance. I hope you find this video useful. So let's get into it, shall we? So here goes. So let's start off with the models that are based on an actual diagram. So let's start with the locomotive itself. And just coming to shop now, it should be the Hornby Black 5, that's the new one. I'll go into the old one later. Then we have in the centre, we have two Great Western toads or brake vans. And one is Rapido, that's the cleaner one. And that is a diagram AA20. It definitely looks like a Great Western brake van from what I've seen in preserved lines and railways. And here's one I've not seen in real life. And this is the Oxford Rail Great Western 6-wheeled brake van or toad. And this is done to a diagram AA1. I believe all the brake vans here of the Great Western were designed to a standard or AA, if I have this correct. So let's move it along and get onto some wagons. So in shop there, we should have three Rapido Southeast and Chatham wagons. And these diagrams are to a Southern one. Southern reclassified their diagrams, I believe, when they took over the stock. So we have a 5-plank one. Again, it's Southeast and Chatham. It's 1349, the diagram is. The 7 one, which is in the middle, again to a Southern design. 1355, and then at the end we have the ballast truck, or as I've called it here, a 2-plank. And that is to a Southern again, 1744. Then next up we have the last three out of my pick of rolling stock. And this one is the Rapido 10-ton Southeast and Chatham van, if I have that correct. It could even be a 12-ton one. And this is done to a diagram by the Southern again, 1420 I believe, or 1426 depending on my writing. And then we come to a Hornby brake van, and this is another toad. It's an E-toad, it's an Alineo or Northeastern. And this is to a diagram 064 from the research I could find. Then the last brake van at the end is a Kerno one, and this is the LSWR road van, and this is in the Southern livery. The diagram is 1541. So next up will be the goods wagons, and these are either based or they are freelance stuff. Let's start with the locomotive. So in the actual diagram stuff, I did the new tooled Hornby Black 5, and this is the Railroad Black 5 by Hornby again, in the same livery. I have been told that the wheel spacing on the driving wheels is wrong, and it also goes for another loco, which I'll show you later. So that's the reason why I am showing this one off, because of the wheel spacing. But again, it looks like a Black 5 and it runs like a Black 5. I couldn't see anything wrong with it, but I've been told the wheel spacing is wrong with this model. So next up we have, just bringing the shot there, we have I think it's a mainline toad. Again, it's a lot shorter than the Rapido one. It's roughly or a little bit longer than the Oxford Railway one. So I think this is a smaller version or 4-wheeled version of the Oxford Rail one. Oxford Rail do a 4-wheeled version, but again, it looks like a Great Western toad. it might be a little bit small in places or wrong in places. I don't know, but it looks like a toad to me. And then next up in shot we have a freelance item from Hornby, and this is a long wheel-based van, and this one's in the Hornby Centenary livery, which I quite like. Originally it was, when it first came out, it was in a Cadbury's livery, which I do have, and to me I always thought these were correct. I always tried to look out on the railway for them. As a kid, where I lived in Wetmore, there were loads of sidings, loads of heavy freight vehicles coming through, going to coal stations and other places. I've always seen some that look like it, but I was really unsure. But to me, I can't tell it's freelance. Next up, we have, I'm going to put two of these in shot. These again are freelance, and I believe these are a 7-plank wagon that Hornby designed for the Thomas Tank range, the troublesome trucks. I've been told that's what they were designed for. And again, they look a little bit longer. Not all wagons were the same shape and sizes, and they look the part. I couldn't tell they were a freelance design, but yeah, that's the 7-plank from Hornby. Like I said, it's a freelance design. And then next up, I'm going to try to get both of them in shot. And these are the Dapple ventilation van, or Dapple vent van. So if I got this correct, these are based on a design going off Dapple's website. So the wooden side one, which is the green one, that has a wooden side, and that is based on a Great Western design. And then the J. Jones one is an LMS design that should have a metal side, corrugated metal. So they are based on a design. I don't know if they are a correct design or not. That's just going off Dapple's website. They could be, and I might have them in the wrong category, but they do look like a covered van that you would see on a preserved railway. And then the next two, or the last two for this section, is I've put this Great Western Iron Mink from Rapido in. This is actually based on a design, and I can't quite think of it, so I'll put it on the screen now. And this is in a made-up livery, Great Northern Railway. So that's the reason I've put it in there. You know, it is an actual diagram item. It's got a made-up livery, and for me, and like a lot of other of my friends have said, you can't tell it's a made-up livery on a proper item. It looks the actual thing to me. And then at the end we have, I think this is a Triangle Hornby Railways brake van. It's another Toad, and in the first part I showed off the Toad E, and this is the counterpart to it from the 70s, and it's just a smaller version of a Toad, and it looks the part to me. Originally I did think these were made up when I was a kid. Clearly they're not. So it's based on a Toad E, or Toad from the LB&SCR, and that's why it's in there. As we now move over to coaches or carriages that have a real diagram, as far as I can see, as you tell, in front of you here we have the new tooled Hornby BR9F, and this is to scale, and it is correct. I think the wheel spacings is the right proportion. I do have a railroad one, which I'll show a bit later on with the freelance / base models. So moving along, the train, it's only a small train full of Hornby stuff, because that's all I have as far as I'm aware. Quite a nice loco. We have two just there, Hornby LB&SCR full brakes, and these are 61 feet and 6 inches, I believe, or something like that. They are to diagram 198 or diagram 260 if my researchers got me correct. They are the full brake that Hornby do, and they are nice. Moving along to the last coach. It's a weird train, I know. The last coach again is Hornby, and it's an LB&SCR restaurant car or buffet car. Again, it's to the same frame as the others, which is 61 feet and 6 inches, I believe. And I believe this is diagram 167 from the research I could find. Again, they look the part. I know Hornby retooled all of them a few years back. Me, really, I couldn't tell the difference. So yeah, that was the real life coaches with a diagram. And finally, we come on to the based or freelance loco and model of the coaches. This is the Railroad 9F, and for me it looked like a Railroad 9F. It looked like a 9F to me. I never ever noticed the spacing in the drive wheels were a little off. I believe they were too short, too long, not by a lot, just by a little bit. And the only reason I found that out is by watching Hornby Model World. They mentioned that the new tooled one, again, someone mentioned that the spacing was wrong, and Hornby corrected it. That's why I know the one on the Hornby new tooled one is correct, so this one must be a little wrong. But again, it looks like a 9F, it runs like a 9F, I like it. The first coach is an odd one for this train, or the train is odd in general, and it's a Hornby Railroad Great Western Cholesterol coach, I believe that's what they're called. And again, it's too short. That's all I know about it, it's too short. Hornby have done a full fat detail one several years ago, and they look stunning. There's nothing wrong in these coaches. It looks like a cholesterol coach to me. Probably saying that wrong, but to me it looks like one. The next coach up again is a Hornby Triangle one, Hornby Railways. Just getting shot there. And again, I think this is too long if I have my facts correct. And this is the Thompson, O'Neill Thompson teak coaches. Again, they look like a Thompson coach that I've seen in photos and going to railways myself. It looks like one. I would never guess it's too long. I'm no expert, but it's too long. The next coach up, again, most of these are Hornby. And I'm not bashing Hornby, it's just they have most of them. Is a Great Western restaurant car, or most of the Great Western Railroad range coaches are too short. And this, like I said, this is a restaurant one. I think it's a collet design. Too short for the actual real life coach. And the same goes for the Hornby Bresley. It's not the 61 feet and 6 inches one, it's a lot shorter. And I've had these many years and I love them to death. I run them as much as I can. Again, I would never known they were a little bit short. We come on to a Bachmann model, or Graham Farish model, and this is based on a Southern design, I believe, and this is in teak. I also have it in a Great Western design, and I have it in an LMS design as well. They're called mainline coaches, I believe. This was based on a Southern one. They also do a range of suburban coaches, which are based on an LMS design, but in the big four liveries. They look the part to me. I could be easily pleased. I don't know. And the last biggish coach is again a railroad one. It's an LMS brake. It's a Stania design. And again, from the notes I received after doing some research, and someone kindly helped me out with this, they're saying they are too short. And I take the guy's word because he worked at Hornby, he will know. So again, too short. Personally, like I said, I'm no expert, and I keep repeating myself, no expert, but to me, they look like an LMS coach. I wouldn't know if anything's missing, or an extra window, or too many windows, or too less of a windows. It does look the part to me. Like I said, I probably am easily pleased. And then the last two coaches are quite recent. One by Hattons. I don't know who actually owns the tooling for these now. It was Hattons, and that is the Great Western 4-wheel brake there. Then we have another brake just to show it off and to move away from Matiques. We have a London South Western 4-wheeled brake. I have many of these from Hattons and Hornby in many liveries, from BR all the way through to Era 2. I have Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. I have Great Northern, LNER. BR, like I said, I have Blue and Grey BR. I just got loads. I love them. These I know for a fact are, well, Hattons openly admitted it on a live stream. These are based on several pre-grouping companies' style of coaches. Again, it doesn't bother me. It looks like a coach you'll see on the Preserve Railway line, or if you watch any of the documentaries about the 1920s, 1910s, you will see these quite regularly on them, and they look the part. The only one I am questionable over is the Hornby one. I've heard a few reports that Hornby started off doing Stroudley coaches, and you can see the Stroudley in them. And I heard once Hattons were doing it, the Hornby team just went the same way and just did every livery and tweaked the design a bit. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's the rumour. Again, I've put it in just because of the rumour. If it is a Stroudley coach, it doesn't bother me. It looks like a Era 2, Era 3 small coach. So that's the coaches. I'll give you my opinion in a minute. Now it's time for my opinion and conclusion on this diagram versus freelance or base vehicles. For me, I am the minority. I'm not too fussed if they're based on something or they're not. I do understand there's been a lot of care and attention to details on every model, from freelance to designed models or base models or diagram models. Someone has took the time to research it, get the details correct for a specific model. I do understand that, but with somebody who just likes to run their trains how they feel fit, I ain't too fussed that, for example, there's a Great Western Iron Mink wagon in a Great Northern livery. It doesn't bother me. It may bother some who see it on a YouTube channel, in a shop, or at a exhibition and go, well, that's Great Western, it should be a Great Western livery. I get that there's people out there, and that's fine. Same with locos. So the 9F and the Black 5 or Class 5, I believe, like I said, it was the wheel spacing was wrong on the railroad versions of them, if you have my facts correct. But on the new one, they are accurate. But I am not an expert, and I would never have guessed they were wrong. They looked like a Black 5 or a 9F. They ran like it, so I couldn't tell the difference. Speaking of locos, there was another loco that I should have picked. Again, it's another Hornby one, and that was the Dapple/Hornby Terrier from the 80s, when Hornby bought the tooling off Dapple. That is based on a Terrier at some point during a Terrier's life. And both Hornby and Dapple have re-released a new tooled version in the last 5 years, I would say, to accurate standards. Hopefully on screen now you'll be seeing a picture of my new Hornby one and my old Hornby one, in the same livery but different names. I can't comment on the new Dapple one because I didn't have one. But again, the old one looks like a Terrier. It ran like a Terrier. I had no issues with that, and I still don't. This video was basically trying to work out if people are too fussed if it's based on a diagram or not, or if it just looks right to them. That's all I'm getting at. It's just a video with a difference. And for me, like I said, I am probably the minority. I will run, for example, a turbo motive with Graham Farish teaks, or I will run a Great Western Prairie, large Prairie, with the Railroad Children coaches. Stuff like that. I am the minor. I don't care. As long as I'm having fun, that's the main thing. So this video was just to see if there's a market for more basic models, more based on models in the hobby. I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry about a little bit of rambling, but it's a video I've been thinking about for a while. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video, so please take care and goodbye.